If you think Sloe Gin is good, wait till you've tried Sloe Vodka with our special ingredient, maple syrup. Hello! Welcome to English Country Life. Welcome to the kitchen. Welcome to making Sloe Vodka with maple syrup. We recently did a recipe for traditional Sloe Gin, an incredibly simple, incredibly fast recipe, and I'll put a link somewhere up there. I prefer this one for two reasons. One, gin doesn't agree with me, it makes me grumpy. Don't know why, used to make my mum weepy, so we tend to stay away from it, but there is a better reason. The better reason is that gin's quite a heavily flavoured spirit. It's got lots of juniper and often other botanicals in it, whereas vodka is a cleaner spirit. So when vodka takes on the flavours in this recipe, what you're getting is just the sloe stones, the sloe flesh and the maple syrup. And you get that sort of almondiness from the stones. You get the sort of beautiful plumminess from the flesh, and then the sweetness, the butterscotchiness from the maple syrup. And those three flavours combine beautifully. Now, it used to be said that you pick your sloes after the first frost. Well, around here, the sloes are ripe 2 or 3 months before the first frost. So that doesn't really work anymore. And you know a sloe's ripe when it's purple and it's got some give to the touch and it'll give off a little bit of juice. So we harvest them, and I'll show you that in a minute. But what we then do is weigh them out, put them in a Tupperware box and freeze them in our freezer so that the skins burst, which does help with giving up the flavour. The internal flesh gets broken down with the freezing process and it will produce a better result. We just freeze them artificially. So let's go and take a look at that. When I'm making Sloe Vodka, I use the same sort of proportions as I do for our Sloe Gin recipe. So it's 500 grams of sloes to 1 bottle of spirits. Now I'm going to make a double batch here, so I need 1 kilo of ripe sloes. I give them a rinse, I pick out any leaves, any detritus, but I'm not too worried about the odd stalk adhering to a sloe. Once I've weighed out my kilo of sloes, lid on, do it up, I'll bung that in the freezer till it's frozen completely solid, and then I'll leave it till a convenient point to carry on with the recipe. Once it's frozen, you can leave it as long as you like. Several months is absolutely fine. That's 1 kilo of frozen sloes for a double batch of this. So we're going to use 2 bottles of vodka, and I'm going to put the sloes and the vodka in a clip top jar. I'm not adding maple syrup or any other form of sweetness at this stage. We'll sweeten at the end to taste when we've already infused all those wonderful sloe flavours. You really can't beat these clip top jars for making fruit spirits. They're easy to use, easy to agitate, they seal up well, and ultimately you can get the fruit out afterwards. This is a 3 litre jar, and you do need quite a big jar for a double batch, but of course if you've only got smaller jars, just use 2 jars. One thing I like to do is to tie a luggage label on each jar saying what's in it, when it started and what the state is. So I've noted on this one there's no sweetener yet added, because the last thing I want to do is accidentally just bottle that straight away thinking it's finished. That's it then, frozen sloes that will defrost over the next 24 hours and vodka. I'll put that on a windowsill and we'll give it a shake each time we pass, just to help that flavour come out of the sloes and into the vodka. And that'll be ready in 2 or 3 months to add the sweetening. Look at these 2 jars. There are some differences between them. One on the left is gin, one on the right is vodka, but they're both the same strength of alcohol, and I don't think that's made any difference. But the one on the left has sugar added at the beginning of the process. The one on the right has no sugar added. And the one on the left, you can see the sloes are really quite wrinkly. The one on the right, they're still very plump. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that the one on the left has a more intense flavour or that the one on the right is in some way not as good. But what it does mean is there's this process called osmosis. And if you take a membrane and you put a strong solution on one side and a weak solution on the other, liquid will cross the membrane and go into the strong solution. And I believe that's what's happened with the jar on the left. We have a strong sugar solution and that's drawn liquid across the membrane of the sloe skin into the gin. So although we didn't put our sugar in, because alcohol is an incredibly effective solvent, we've got loads of sloe flavour dissolved into a vodka. You can see from the colour alone how effective a solvent vodka is. Basically, ethanol is used in all sorts of things because of those properties. Methylated spirits is used in cabinet making, for example. Next step is to strain the vodka off the sloes before we move on. Having used 2 bottles of vodka, we've got a good sized jug of Sloe Vodka. First thing you do is taste it. If you like the taste, leave it alone. But without any form of sweetening, sloes are quite sour, so generally they need something added. Now I'm going to add maple syrup because I love the taste of maple syrup. And there's a sort of almondy nuttiness to the sloes and the sharpness of the vodka, and I think the maple syrup goes really nicely with that. But why not try honey or demerara sugar? Whatever works for you. It's got a really distinctive smell, almondy smell to it, like an almond croissant almost. People worry about that because stone fruit, particularly members of the prunus family, which sloes and cherries and plums and so forth are, do contain cyanide in the stones, and that can give the almondy smell and taste. Don't worry about it. Honestly, it's at such low concentrations dissolved into this that whilst it may give off some sort of scent, the alcohol would do you serious harm long before anything that comes out of the sloes would. So honestly, nothing to worry about in that respect. Let's taste. Delicious, but really, really tart, wants sweetening. I'm going to add maple syrup in small doses, stirring well to make sure it dissolves. And we'll see how much we need to use. I expect to use 150ml to 250ml per bottle of vodka, but we'll go slow and we'll get to a taste we like. Even that first shot has made an enormous difference to the taste. It does want a little bit more, but I'm going to go slow and careful. That's it, perfect. Doesn't need any more. It's actually needed considerably less maple syrup than I expected. The sloes were sweet this year, and that's the thing, I can't give you a precise recipe because it will vary on the vodka you're using, where and when you picked your sloes. But add a little at a time, enjoy the tasting, it comes out great. What I'm going to do now is just run it through a funnel and some muslin. You can use a coffee filter, anything like that, to get out any fine particles as I put it into the bowls. Of course, you've got a big bowl of sloes now, haven't you? What to do with them? Well, you can just discard them if that's your choice. They will compost, but beware of growing lots of blackthorn trees from the stones. Some people put them back in the jar and fill the jar up now with port and make a sloe port, because there's still some flavour in the sloes there. And I've known one enterprising soul who took a cherry stoner to them, stoned them out, dusted them with icing sugar and then covered them with dark chocolate for a really delicious snack. Entirely up to you. That's how we make Sloe Vodka. I love the maple syrup and it gives it an extra depth and an extra tang. But I'm sure there's lots of other things that would work just as well. If you've enjoyed today's video, can you spare us 5 seconds to give us a thumbs up down below? If you'd like to see more on food and drink, tell us what interests you in the comments and we'll try and make you those kind of videos. If you want to see all the videos we make, just whack on that subscribe button, hit the bell next to it. You'll hit every time we upload a new video. But whatever you do, come back and see us soon. Take care.